Q-tips, or I'm going to walk you through the supplies that I'm going to use. I'm going to work on UPO, and what I usually do when I'm doing demos for UPO, unless I'm doing a large art project, or if I'm experimenting, I'll take a piece of 11 by 14 UPO from the UPO pad and cut it down to 5.5 by 7-inch pieces. So you got roughly a 5 by 7 to work with, and you get 4 of them out of it. So if you make mistakes, you're not so worried. You haven't lost a whole sheet of UPO paper. So the next thing that I'm going to use, I have a weld palette. Already have some colors in it. I have some alcohol inks, and I'll go through the colors that I'm going to use in just a few moments. Q-tips or cotton swabs. I have a small container of 91% isopropyl alcohol here. And I have some blocks with felt. I created these myself. They're like the Tim Holtz dabbing blocks that you can get, but I took a couple of just regular wooden blocks. I taped on the loop side of Velcro, and then I cut out squares of felt, and I use those all the time. Okay, I have a paper towel for blotting, and I've got some masking tape. And what I'm first going to do here is I'm going to take the Q-tips, and I'm going to tape them together. So to pick back up where I left off, I've taped together 5 Q-tips, and I'm going to take another 5 Q-tips, and I'm going to tape those together as well. Wow, it should have some music or something in the background. They crack down so much on the rights to music, and sometimes they'll even ban your video from Facebook if you're using someone else's music. So that's why I'm hesitant to put music on in the background. I guess I could sing, but then you guys would all leave. That would not be good. Okay, so I've got, let's see, 2 bundles of, I use 5 Q-tips. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my weld palette, and the first colors that I'm going to start with, I'm going to use are Flamingo and Poppy Field. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to pour these into my weld palette, decent amount in each one. And my Poppy Field. If you're using a bunch of different colors, or you have a larger weld palette, you may want to label each one of these so you remember what's in which bay, but I'm not working with so many colors here, so I'm not going to worry about it for right now. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take the cotton swabs, and I'm going to dip it into my Flamingo, and you see it quickly absorbed it into my cotton swabs. And I'm going to start somewhere around the middle of the page, and I'm going to apply a little pressure there to apply. And what I'm going to do as I go up towards the top is I'm going to tilt it so that only one side of the floral shows. So it's fatter around the bottom, and then sort of tilt it as you go up to create the effect that you have a flower that's growing up like kind of like a gladiola, or I'm not sure what the other kinds are called. Then I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to take the other side. I'm going to dip it in to the poppy field, and it quickly absorbs. You can see the ink. Those of you that think the ink is very precious, which it is, it might be for the lighthearted. So anyway, there you go. I'm just dabbing here, and the longer you hold it down, the larger the area is. So I'm going to start another one over here. And as I work towards the top, I'm going to tilt it sideways at an angle to get a lighter feel. And there's still quite a bit of ink in these, so you can use them over and over. Another thing you can do too, and I'll show you, is you can dip it into, this is a container of 91% isopropyl alcohol. So I'm just going to tap it in there, tap it over here on my towel, and then take it. And this is actually going to give you even more texture because it's going to activate the inks and blend those two colors that I put together, that poppy filled and the flamingo color. It's going to blend it together. It creates a really nice effect. Okay. Now I'm going to take another set of colors. This is going to be sunshine yellow, and I'm using sunset orange. So sunshine yellow and sunset orange. So put the sunshine yellow in, the sunset orange. Okay, I'm going to take my next set of cotton swabs, and I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to dip it right into my sunshine yellows, soak it up, and then I'm going to start in the middle here with another bud, another flower bud. So on these flowers, pat around the bottom, tilt it towards the top. I could use a little bit more sunshine yellow, but I am going to, I'm going to make this one tilt around to the side. Maybe have one that comes off this way. Multi-dimensional. And I'm going to flip it. Oh, by the way, if the ink on your hand bothers you, you may want to wear plastic gloves. I don't. I'm just over it. I live with ink. I go out to dinner. Sometimes I have ink, and my husband's like, "What is that? Are you okay?" And I'm like, "It's just ink. It's okay." And he's like, "Oh, he understands by now." But it's a common occurrence for me. So I'm doing this upside down, so I'm going to turn it around and show you what we have so far. So you can see we have some nice little flowers going up. What I want to do now is add some greenery. And so to do that, I'm going to use citrus. One of my favorite greens is citrus. And the other one I'm going to use is called botanical. So I'm going to put these into my weld palette. And while I'm working a little bit more with the flowers, I'm going to let them set a little bit, because with the alcohol inks, you want some, if you want to paint and do thin lines with a brush, then you need to let some of the alcohol evaporate out so that the ink is thicker, and you can put it on the brush and work with it sort of like a paint. So what I'm going to do while that's happening is I'm going to just keep adding a little bit more here with my Q-tips. I dipped it into the alcohol and I'm dabbing a little bit. Now obviously you can use the Q-tips to create a lot of different things. You could create texture, you can create foliage, landscape foliage, and those sort of things. Alright, so next I am going to take a thin brush, and around the edges where this has started to set up and dry, I don't know if you can see that around the edges of this palette, the ink, the alcohol has evaporated and the ink's there, so I can start to paint little thin lines. So what I'm going to do with this thin brush, actually I'm going to dip it into the alcohol because I like to get it, and then I'm dry it off over here on the paper towel. And now I'm going to pick up around the edges where some of the alcohol has already evaporated out and the ink is a little thicker. And I'm going to start adding some lines in here with the green. To give a, and so I'll go through all these and add the green lines in, And then I'll come back over them and I'll do another layer. This gives me some dimension. One of the things that I've learned in working with alcohol inks is that layers give your art another dimension that you wouldn't already achieve or wouldn't otherwise achieve. Let's see. So I'm coming around where the alcohol's evaporated again. Just going to work some color in here. And I'm not sure what kind of flowers these are. Don't ask. If you know, let me know. It's fun. So I'm just adding in some green stems in here to give it some more, make it a little more realistic and give it a little more depth. Then I'm going to come through and I'm going to do another pass with the alcohol, with the it's hard to talk and work at the same time. I'm going to do another pass with the colors on top to give it another layer of dimension. And then, you know, when this is over, if you go and you create some, share it here in the comments of the video. So I'd like to see what you guys come up with. It's always fun. I'm going to do a few leaves here and there. So I'm coming out the top. Again, I'm going to go through and do another pass with the florals. I'm going to switch over to the mechanical so that I can have multiple colors in there. More dimension. If you're just joining us, I've put the botanical and citrus in a weld palette, letting some of the alcohol evaporate so it's more like a paint, so I can paint with it. When I first started working with alcohol inks, I didn't realize that, and I would just apply thick, wet paint to and ruin everything I did until I learned how to that technique for letting the inks dry out. So right now I'm just going through and blending in a little bit of the botanical with the citrus to give it a little bit more depth and definition. Okay, now I'm going to do my next pass with the Q-tips. This is, if you're just joining us, it's an opportunity for you to see what we've done. I'm starting with flamingo. I'm going to put a little bit more flamingo into my weld palette. And the other color that I'm using is poppy seed. Is it poppy? It's poppy filled. Poppy filled. And I take my Q-tips that I took 5 Q-tips and taped them together. And I'm going to take the side that I started with the flamingo, and I'm going to dip it in. You'll see that it sucks the inks up almost immediately. And then I'm going to start reapplying on top. And you can see that it's reactivating the ink underneath. As I get towards the top, I'm tilting it so that it's thinner. And I'm doing another layer to just add a little depth. And then sometimes I find that it's too much, like the ink was a little too wet, so it spread a little too much here on this, but that's okay, because what I'm going to do is I'm going to let some of the alcohol evaporate out of the ink that's on here, and then I'll come back and retap it. So this is the side with the poppy seed on it, and so I am tapping with poppy seed. And you can see it gives it a little bit more definition. I'm going to turn it around so in case you can't see it. Starts to give it a little bit more definition here. So alternating between the poppy seed and the flamingo. And I really love the way that's looking. So now I'm going to switch over back over to the sunshine yellow and sunset orange. I have to look at the bottles because I'll be calling it sunset yellow and sunshine orange. Again, I didn't label my weld palette because I'm only using a few colors, so I remember what I'm working with. And but normally I would write on the edge what color it is so I know what I'm working with. Because a lot of times the alcohol will evaporate out, and then I will continue using the ink with a brush with a little bit of alcohol on it. So second pass here on the sunshine yellow. And if you haven't already, I have to put the plug in. Go to the website and join. We opened up free membership this week, and we have a whole lot of things that we're displaying and showing, and for free this week. So it's a good week at the Alcohol Ink Art community. It's a good week to join us. There's a lot being offered. So what I'm doing now is I'm actually blending some of the flamingo and the sunshine yellow into the sunshine yellow to give it a little bit more depth, but not as much. So I'm coming through with that, and then I'm going to go back with the yellow and blend it. And the way I'm blending is I'm just dabbing it, just tapping it with the yellow again. So it sort of blends the poppy seed that I dabbed on there into the sunset orange and yellow, and it gives it another level of dimension. There we go. Okay, so to recap what I've done here, I took cotton swabs or Q-tips, and I taped 5 together. I used masking tape, and I taped the 5 together, and then I poured ink into my weld palette and dipped the Q-tips into the weld palette. So I had 2 alternating colors. For the yellowish orange color, I used sunshine yellow and sunset orange, and I used one on each side, and I continued going over and blending as I go. And then the other one that I used was poppy field and flamingo. So those 2 together as well. Then for the stems and the greenery, I used sunset and botanical, and a mixture of the 2. And I'm still going through and adding. And I'll work on this a little bit more, not a whole lot. I like to kind of keep it simple. When I'm done with my art, I sign it, and I like to do I draw my little trumpet. It's kind of my thing. You can see that at the bottom, the little trumpet. And I sign my name. I don't usually sign with alcohol ink. I usually actually use a micron pen. And the reason I use that is because it's archival, and when it dries it doesn't smudge, and I like that. So anyway, thank you for joining me for this live demo. I hope to do a lot more. I'd like to get your feedback. Let us know what you think, what you want to see. It's me and it's 12 other contributors. All of them are very good. You see a lot of them every day on the community participating and adding. Many of them are instructors and have their own online courses. I invite you to go to our website, alcoholink.community.